The most reliable source for Russian casualties, Mediazona, is reporting that 100,001 soldiers of Russia have been killed, and that's a lot of people. Like 100,000, there's countries smaller than that. So in this, well, on the 3 years of war, the price Russia has paid is a big one. That's like a country of 1 million losing 1,000 soldiers in a war in just 3 years. That's pretty bad. And of course, the price Ukraine has paid is even more. They've lost about 72,000 people according to UA losses. So this war has had a heavy price, and what I think is noticeable is that Russian and Ukrainian casualties are fairly close and a lot lower than what people say. Of course, there's many people saying like over 1 million people have died, but in reality, it's like 200,000, and half of those have been Russian soldiers. And I think this war has been unusual by Russian standards, as it's fought with well-paid professional soldiers, and of course the Ukraine rely on conscripts. And there's been a big argument about who has more casualties, the Russians or the Ukrainians. Well, the open source data says Ukraine has suffered about 30,000 less deaths than Russia, and of course the Russians have more artillery, but the Russians are also doing offensives, and offensives must take casualties, especially when attacking fortified positions, so that negates the artillery. And of course, the reason why it's relatively low is because of modern medicine, and of course soldiers and of course the relatively static fortified nature of the war, because bombing a troop concentration in a field with artillery is going to cause a lot more casualties than bombing a tree line with Ukrainian bunkers in it, because during the artillery bombardments, the troops go to the bunkers and stuff. So I think it may be lower than what many people are saying, but it's still extremely high and unfortunate, and this war really could have been avoided. I think Vladimir Putin in February 2022 should have given an ultimatum at least 24 hours before he eventually went in. And of course, he should have started a massive mobilization in 2022 when it turned out the war wouldn't go as wanted. So then Russia should have done a massive mobilization, and that would have meant that the Ukraine would have to accept the peace that Russia demanded. And I think Russia has no reason to have Zaporizhzhia and Kherson. So if I think they had just focused on taking Crimea and the Donbass, I think the war would be over by now. But of course the big number is 100,000 Russians have been killed, and that is all.